Hey everyone, welcome back to Path of Exile, and in today's content I'll be wrapping up my Spectral Shelter Gladiator and also showcase some in-game stuff such as the Cortex, Elder and Sirus and Awakener level 5. If you are new around here, be sure to subscribe to the channel, otherwise a rating and a comment help spread the video to the masses. I'll also be timestamping the video so that you can skip to the gameplay if you are not interested in the commentary portion of the video. The video is also getting recorded live because at the end of the day, that's an easier way to put out more content and I don't have to invest as much time recording audio and editing it in post gameplay commentary stuff. So let's begin this video by talking about the first change, which is the weapon. The weapon is now a sword because swords can get Resolute Technique as a corrupted implicit, and by getting that we can drop it from the skill tree and use those points somewhere else. Optimally, this weapon would have had a damage over time multiplier alongside the damage with bleeding and increased damage over time craft. If you can't get that, something as close or similar to mine is alright. The other change in this build came in the skill tree department, and we dropped Resolute Technique and the point that was leading up to it, and instead we took Solidity because at level 95 we had 3 available points, which are these guys over here. Solidity is giving us 20% increased damage while holding a shield, 80% elemental resistances, and 3% chance to block attack damage. Since we are a gladiator that is also using versatile combatant, with a Romi's concoction and a Tempest shield, we now sit at 74% chance to block both spell damage and attack damage. That, alongside the damage we are dealing, translates into a character that sits pretty comfortably in the endgame, dealing with as much content as possible, except, reflect stuff. Because at the end of the day, we cannot be reflect immune unless you are not a gladiator, a slayer or an ascendant. But yeah, the character at level 95 managed to die 13 times, which I know that to some of you hardcore purists that's like 13 times too many. But for us on softcore at level 95 13 times, I don't know about you, but I think that's a pretty solid number. So to wrap up our character, or this character, we're using a Spectral Shelter with Awakened Deadly Ailments, Awakened Swift Affliction, Awakened Vicious Pratals, Awakened Unbound Ailments, and Brutality support. Optimally Awakened Brutality. The backbone of this character is the shield, which has 2900 armor, and this was possible through the use of the Garden recipe, reforge a rare item guaranteeing defense modifiers, and defense modifiers are more common. We want to hit at least tier 2 increased armor, tier 1 flat armor, and a hybrid increased armor roll. You can force this last one by using remove a non-defense modifier, add a new defense modifier, as many times as possible until you can get your hybrid roll. In the case that you get life and armor or reflect something to melee attackers, you can remove either one of those with remove attack modifier or remove life modifier and augment a defense modifier, looking for the increased armor and stun and block or block chance. The resistances were put in place by using Augment a Fire and Augment a Cold modifier, but you can also go with Augment Cold or Augment Chaos or Augment Lightning modifiers. Finally, for the quality, Heloc on Fortification at tier 3 and a 18 quality and intelligence craft to make the shield have 46% quality and as such for 2900 armor. So yeah. As I said before, and as I will say now, try to craft your own stuff. Like, it is a crafting league, and not getting the most out of the league mechanic by not crafting your gear is pretty much not the correct way to play, but I'd actually wager that you're better off crafting your stuff, because something similar to this is probably gonna cost a hefty chunk of currency, and at the end of the day, the sense of pride and accomplishment that comes from crafting your own stuff is better than spending a lot of currency of your hard-earned currency on this stuff. Sorry for the fuck-ups when I'm talking, since this is being recorded live and there is no script to follow. Sometimes my brain decides to brain fart in the middle of our recording. Moving on to the armor itself, helmet and body armor were both self-crafted. as much life and resistances as you can muster into both of them. The helmet doesn't need accuracy because we're using Resolute technique. It also needs an Spectral shield through damage enchantment, and yeah, as much as life and resists as you can get. Body armor, life and resists as well. I am using an Assassin's Garb for the increased movement speed, but you could also use an Astral Plate or something else of your liking. For the jewelry, the three of them are using reduced mana cost of skills so that we can spam our skill non-stop without fearing the spending of mana. And since we are not investing into mana leech in any way whatsoever, this helps us sustain that mana pool pretty much indefinitely. The first ring has vulnerability, life and resistances, the second ring has life, damage with bleeding and resistances, and the amulet has life, resistances and feast damage over time multiplier. Anything else on these slots is a bonus. Next are the gloves, which have life, resists, or in this case a resist, and feast damage over time multiplier and chance to bleed, which come from an elder pair of gauntlets. You want that because at the end of the day, there isn't much that you can get on the shield or on the gloves, and those modifiers greatly help scale off the blitz we're applying on the enemies. The belt is a darkness enthroned with enemies mained by you take 8% increased damage over time, which comes from the Uber Lab, and I don't recall which one it is that lets you enchant belts, but beware that by doing that Labyrinth, Isaro is now an endgame boss, so if you're gonna go tackle that, go with the mindset that the encounter is not gonna be as easy as Isaro tends to be every single day of the week. Finally, the boots are red trail so that we can get frenzy charges while we are bleeding, and we are bleeding because we have the golden rule on our skill tree, and the golden rule is making it so that bleedings we inflict are reflected to us. And instead of getting one shot by the blitz we are applying, we also use a Watcher's Eye with unaffected by bleeding while affected by malevolence. See, my brain goes too much sometimes, and I'm sorry about that. We're using Malevolence instead of Pride, even though Pride is a bigger DPS increase in the bleed department, because we want that unaffected by bleedings, and at the same time we also get to use the Red Trail and the Golden Rule comfortably. At the same time we also have Herald of Purity 21 and War Banner 2120. Both of them are linked to an Enlighten, even though Enlighten isn't that mandatory because we're not spending mana. For the rest of the stuff, I think that's pretty much gonna be it. I'm gonna leave the POV on the description below so that you can check every single nook and cranny. For example, the cluster jewels, the abyssal jewels I am using, the rest of the jewels on the tree, and if you have any question, I'll be happy to answer down below. This character is pretty much some of the most fun I've ever had playing with Path of Exile, and I absolutely recommend playing it if you have the chance. I tried something similar in Metamorph and that version flopped, mainly because I wasn't using cluster jewels because they weren't a thing back there, but also because I didn't put some thought into getting as much armor or frenzy charges from the Red Trail. This character in general has been a lot of fun. If I had to rate him, I think he sits in the top 5 builds I've ever done. He's really that much fun and really that good, and yeah, so if you have the chance, go ahead, give it a try. Also, before I finish this off, I'm also using this guy over here, Escalation. I did talk about that in the last video. Path of Building is not showcasing the DPS gains from this guy and this enchantment, and if I had to take a wild guess, I think we're doing roughly 2.4 million bleed DPS, which is pretty good, and if we had the ability to learn if these guys were greatly increasing or bleed DPS through POV, that'd be huge, but that is not the case, so yeah. But all in all, this character, pretty good, a lot of fun, I recommend it, and now that I've said all of that, it's time for you guys to check out the gameplay. But before we do that, I want to thank you guys for watching tonight's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any question, again, let me know in the comments below and I'll be happy to help. For the next character, we're gonna be doing some cast and crit. This is still pending some crafts, and this is still pending some crafts, and we're gonna be using some of these guys. So keep an eye out for that, because that should be a lot of fun as well. Having said all of that, again, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the next video. Enjoy the gameplay, and peace out.
What secrets are you hiding in that murderous mind of yours? Let's find out. Valdo had some ingenious designs hidden in his memories. Observe. Reclass needs me. Darkness surrounds us. Valdev's designs were flawed. Do you remember dying here? You will. Feel the pull of the void. Yes, that's it. Death sweeps in. What are you? In this, the realm of the past, I am king, and you will bow. This one is my own creation. Reclass needs me. Repent. Plenty more where that came from. Face your destruction. Be no more. Burn away, sin. Feel the pull of the void. I will crush cleansing flames. Faith empowers. Belief.
I can't do this just yet.